Good morning. You gave great statistics on once an employer hires from this hidden pool, right? So as an employer, when I go to post for jobs, or any of my businesses do, we're going to the standard places, Indeed, Glassdoor, CareerSource, etc. We're not typically reaching out to places that you mentioned, such as EmployU and Project Search. Shame on us, but we don't have time, unfortunately. So we're going to the mainstream locations for hiring. Would you say that more of the organizations that are helping potential employees that we've been talking about are making sure that they go to those mainstream postings, and that way we can make sure that we're getting into those? Or are you recommending that we purposely go out to some of these other resource sites to potentially hire these fantastic employees?
I would definitely say purposely reach out. Sometimes they're already reaching out to you, but just as though when we're gonna post on Indeed, the next step is that we send a flyer over to our community support personnel as well. They're getting the same information, but they're getting it directly from us. And again, I'm only talking about my experience. Candidly, I have a higher ratio of being more successful with them than Indeed.
Hello, Karen. Liam, Karen, this is for you. I'm Joe with Boys and Girls Clubs. We have a foot in both worlds. We get public money and we get private money. The three of you up there that have private dollars, and you can take those chances. The problem we have is if we take money from the state, we got to run a DCF background screen, a DJJ background screen, a DOE background screen. I know, Karen, you've been fighting this fight for us in Tallahassee, but sometimes you take public money and you sell a little bit of your soul. So, Liam or Karen, can you address that and tell me how we can get some of these folks on board with us to pass the background screens?
The Volusia Recovery Alliance has staff that can help people through the exemption process. So one thing I would say is contact us so that we could connect one of our recovery peer specialists to the person that's trying to get the background screen done. The new legislation means that if it's a DCF background check, they do have to respond in 30 days now, based on the legislation that we did get passed last session. It's still a bit of a challenge, and we continue to advocate for more background changes, but please contact us, and one of our staff can help that person navigate the exemption process.
I know that, so what I tell my clients is, and the businesses that do reach out to us, because there are people that need a DCF exemption or an OPTI exemption, is to make sure that they actually can get the exemption and that they qualify. Once the potential candidate can qualify for the exemption, then, speak with the business owners to give them a chance. Because they can get the exemption, they just have to jump through the hoops and reach out to the right people to guide them through that. I know I myself had to go through it, and I do send people to the Recovery Alliance if it's something that I personally don't have time or can't assist with, but most of it is laid out for you. This is how you do the exemption. The issue is people don't want to hire them prior to the exemption. But so if we could change the fact that they can get an exemption, it's just going to take time, then we can make a difference. And he tricked me and gave me this mic that weighs like 20 pounds.
And in certain circumstances, you are allowed to hire somebody pre-exemption. With my LSF contract, I am not allowed to do that, but there are some circumstances when you can use other funding if you have a position that can be funded non-managing entity or non-state. But call me.
All right, fair enough.
Hello, thank Bryan, Daytona State College. In previous years, though, I worked as a personal job coach for people with disabilities. And often when we think disability, we think physical limitations, but many of my clients had emotional limitations, mainly autism. And many clients on the spectrum, there was definitely a lack of confidence there, and their challenge was getting past the interview process. Jordan, some of what you mentioned about the eye contact, some social cues are always picked up upon. So there is a challenge with having, judging people along standards that they're not necessarily going to be able to compete with. And so I had a question regarding how you handle that, as also when a person with a disability is hired, what type of education goes on with supervisors as far as like how they train them to make sure that they are retaining information and being able to keep up.
I can call 2 cases back to our people who are autistic. One was in a semi-manufacturing setting, another one is in a different setting. So first of all, with that, when you talk about the social skills, obviously, with these particular people, they weren't able to interview well, but we knew that going in. They had their parents with them. Some of their behavioral coaches, also I talked to them to help me also understand what their challenges were, what they need. These people were hired, and they were hired in roles where it was a routine that they had, and we made sure that they could read. So we made sure the instructions were actually by their workstations. We talked to the supervisor who was going to work with them in terms of certain cues. I know one person sometimes, if the loud noise would make them react. So not only did we train the supervisors, we were not violating HIPAA, but we made sure that the people that were working around to understand when they saw those cues, who to reach out to, how do we help that particular person. So again, I think it has so much more to do with the dialogue and working with all the parties involved. And I know someone right now who works for Publix who's autistic. So there are a lot of opportunities, just gotta make sure it's the right fit. There's someone, I know this is physical, but there's someone who works at a place that takes blood. They have to read your lips. So there is a sign in the room that tells the patient, this person needs to read your lips. And the patient is already using a tablet, so it's not a distraction. They're able to do that job. They're able to do that job very well. So it's just really communication, setting expectations and following through.
And accommodation.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Tiffany O'Bear. I am the new philanthropic advisor for the Community Foundation. I'm one of the New Yorkers that moved here. I have 2 questions. Liam and Karen, and this is kind of a follow-up. Do you guys offer classes for your clients for resume training and the interview process? Because I know coming up, I had to learn how to interview, and sometimes that's very intimidating when we're trying to sit at the table. So do you guys offer a program for that?
So for Volusia Recovery Alliance and with our contract with Career Source for Career Connect, it is one of the benefits of that program. They get that help directly from Career Source through one of the arms of the program.
So what we have been doing is actually taking our clients to Career Source, having them register. They do offer the resume classes, but like my shameless plug earlier, we're opening up a computer lab in the bridge itself. So Career Source has agreed to give me 2 laptops. They're gonna set me up with all the links, and they're gonna send somebody out once a week, we think, to start with, is what I discussed the other day, to do these trainings and help our clients.
That follows up. My next question was, if you had access to donors' dollars, what program would you put that into?
Currently, at the moment, I would put that into the computer lab, and I would assist them that way.
Well, and we are a mini Career Link facility, but just really, part of it is getting the word out. So helping us with advertising or, marketing dollars actually is something that we can't build the managing entity for, but that we still need, because a lot of people don't even know that we exist, and that we have a great program called Career Connect in partnership and contract with Career Source. So that is one thing, but also, you know, materials, we do have a clothes closet, but if somebody's looking to get a job in healthcare, they need scrubs, they need nursing shoes, I mean, things like that is very helpful to our people that we serve. So, materials a lot of times. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jim Flatley. I have a company called A to Z. We are a healthcare staffing agency. We predominantly work with Advent Health. I also have the privilege of working with Karen on the Volusia Recovery Alliance, and I just wanted to thank you guys so much for the information this morning. I think there was a lot of great statistics shared, and you know, beyond finding talent that we all need and finding employees that are going to be hard workers and dedicated, I didn't hear anybody mention the federal tax credits that are available for a lot of employers that hire these people. If I recall correctly, I think it's $1,200 to $9,600 per employee that you hire. And people that suffer from substance use disorder that have over a year of recovery would qualify as a disabled employee. So if you're hiring people in long-term recovery, you can qualify for federal tax credits, and that can offset the cost and training for these people. So I know as a recovery-friendly workplace, that's something that is definitely a huge advantage as we try to compete in this space. You know, everyone's trying to find new ways to challenge the status quo. So I thought I'd be remiss if I didn't at least share that. And thank you all very much for your information this morning.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Leslie Driscoll, and I am with the African American Entrepreneurs Association. My question goes back to a statement that Robin made earlier, and that is, everyone in this room have biases. Okay, we live in a society that's based, decisions are based on biases. How do you deal with the statistics that show that HR, when you're in the HR field, the second chance opportunities are usually given more to people that look like you, who are in that decision-making position, versus people who do not look like you or are not familiar with your culture. Are there sensitivities training being done to help the HR professionals to learn how to make decisions outside of their personal biases? And anyone can answer that or address that.
Well, for me, I haven't had that experience, so I do know that we provide training overall every year to all of our leaders in terms of the hiring process. I do lead to the fact that we are hiring people with the disabilities, but again, that's just not my experience. Most of the people that I've hired just really, no one that's actually come to us who wanted to apply for a job, they've actually all been hired. So, again, I can't speak about it being one race or another because it's based on who's been sent to. But I will say again, on an annual basis, I make sure I have refresher training for all of our leaders in terms of bias, unconscious bias, because we all do have it. So that is that reminder there. But also, I just go back to the statistics again and just show the results of the people we've hired. So that's my story.
So one of the things that we do at the Volusia Recovery Alliance, we do host a peer cafe, which is geared towards people that want to become recovery peer specialists. And one of the discussions that we have during our meeting is about personal bias. Because for us, it goes beyond what somebody looks like or their culture, but it also can be about recovery pathways, which has a lot of bias depending on your pathway of recovery. And so we're continuing to educate about bias and how it affects, number one, the people that we serve, but also the other people that we hire. We have job openings right now that we're trying to hire for, so we're constantly, and I'm very committed to educating our staff on, you know, what it means to have a diverse workforce and what it means to be, you know, have equality among the people that we serve even, because sometimes some of the population can be very difficult. So we're constantly grooming our people to look at those differences and you know, to treat, our goal is to be inclusive and to treat people equally. Thank you for your question.
Hi, thank you for coming. I had a question actually. I think we've all encountered where someone looks great on paper, but when you get to the interview, it's like, oh, you know, not the right fit for our organization or for, you know, our company. And I was curious actually, or I guess the other extreme, where someone's credentials on paper are okay, but wow, they interviewed great, or they have these great soft skills or interpersonal skills. Have you used video resume or short form video as part of your hiring process? And I was curious actually if you integrated, I guess, you know, the new trend now to short form video, if you integrated video resume as part of either your hiring or your talent pool to say we can really see a side of someone professionally that we don't get on an electronic resume on LinkedIn or a paper resume, that we're really able to see their great talent and skills in action.
We do use video resume, right? Again, I use all the resources that are actually out there. So it's just another component to my hiring process.
And what about for people, I guess, the others in the recovery, would that be impactful for the talent that you work with if they did have a video resume or some kind of place of professional presence powered by video that they'd be able to share with employers or kind of show others, you know, this is the talent that I bring to the table?
I've never heard of video resume, but that being said, what you said, when you see something on paper and doesn't add up in person or vice versa, I'll always give that person a chance. Either way it goes, because you never know who you're going to get, right? You know, they could be good on paper and they show up in the interview, they could just be really nervous, right? And the interview doesn't go well, but they're still a good employee, and vice versa. They could not be all that great on paper, but their interpersonal skills are tremendous. So I'm still going to hire that person and give them a shot and see how it works out. But most of the time, it does work out.
And for us, a lot of times we hire out of our volunteer base. So we kind of know that person already, and it is something that other nonprofits could utilize as a recruitment tool to pull, you know, employees from the volunteers.
Thank you. I guess I'll ask a follow-up if I can. What about, reference checks? Outdated, or is that something that you actually do as part of your hiring, where there's administrative, you have to kind of ask permission, all these things, but I was curious in your field if you still actually do reference checks as part of your hiring, or as additional on an offer, or is that kind of more of an outdated tradition in today's day and age?
From our organization, we still do reference.
We do as well, and we will call every reference on the sheet just to make sure we're getting what they say we're getting.
We definitely do.
I know we also still do reference checks. I know we do not do the video like you were talking about, but along with my executive director, our chief of staff is here, and she is not, so I think she liked that idea.
I previously worked in higher education. We use video references or short form videos in addition to the initial application. I think they can be really helpful, but for our population, not just our clients, but the employees that we're recruiting to the neighborhood center, technology is a huge barrier. So for us, posting applications electronically is already a struggle. So incorporating another kind of technology requirement would really significantly, I think, cut our applications. But I think for some businesses, it's a great idea.
So that's all the time we have. I want to thank everybody for their participation and for coming today, and I thank our panel for their participation. Thanks.
Fantastic presentation, right? Thank you. Thank you so much. I wanted to address two things. Somebody asked about how do you talk your bosses into doing something like this?